25-point margin of victory. Marty, once more the
brakes are gone.
Welcome to another episode of the 31 Nights of Halloween Horror! You are not Advertiser Friendly! No, we are not. Episode 10, episode number 10! We are basically a third of the way through here, this wonderful ride that never ends until I say it ends anyways. And tonight, we are going to review a movie about a dark presence coming over and influencing the youth of an 18th century English town. And this movie is called The Blood on Satan's Claw. And so what happens? So, a farmhand, while plowing a field, uncovers what appears to be the skull of a half-man, half-beast. A demon, if you will. Well, when he calls others to investigate it, it's mysteriously gone. And then all of a sudden, the children of the town, they call them children, but they're more like teenagers. Anyways, the teenagers of the town start becoming influenced by this entity, this thing, and start to perform satanic rituals in hopes to resurrect it and give it form again. And of course those rituals involve murder, mischief, maybe some rape, definitely some rape, and a final conflagration to arise the evil that is the beast. Anyways, so that's the basic plot of the movie. I mean, there is a visiting judge who at first dismisses all this talk of witchcraft as old-time superstition, but as he investigates further, the more he becomes convinced and soon develops a plan to rid the village of the evil. So there you go. There's the plot of the movie. Honestly, the movie is pretty basic when it comes to the storyline. So let's get into the scores. So, violence and gore, I am giving it a 2 out of 5. Honestly, there's not a lot of violence in this movie. There is a nice little hand chop scene and a little bit here and there, some blood. But honestly, for the most part, I consider it tame, though I guess maybe my standards are higher. So anyways, a 2 out of 5. Shock value, 1 out of 5. Honestly, there's nothing really shocking about this movie, except maybe the rape scene, but honestly, there's not too much. Well, actually, I guess there's this scene where the leader of the group of youngins tries to seduce the local reverend, and she disrobes and does the kind of a come on, and of course he resists the temptation, and later on she tries to frame him for rape. Yes, and I like the old, I don't know how to say old English, but the the old way of speaking is like, you are charged with ravishing the girl. Ravishing. that's I could just, you know, see that. It's like, the court is now, read the charges. Charge 1 of ravishing the lady. Ravishing the lady is charge 1. And charge 2 is to unlive the fellow. He unlived him, or so, I don't know. Anyways, he extinguished his existence. There you go. Anyway, so yeah, nothing like too shocking. 1 out of 5. Plot. Oh, see, this is where the thing kind of like is just disappointing. I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. Look, it's so basic, and I watched this movie, and I'm waiting for stuff to happen, and things do happen, but it's just so bare bones. I mean, we don't really get any kind of information about, like, why the children all of a sudden come under this influence, and how they figured out, like, you know, like one of them's reading from a book. And it's, you know, demon incantations. Like, where did they get that book? And how, and they're children in the 18th century. How do they know how to read? Or things like that. It just, there's some weirdness, like the beast thing, because I guess, in the beginning, the master of the one house, his wife-to-be becomes mad, and they had to take her away, and her hand turned into a beast's claw, and then she escaped into the woods. And so is that her? Is she the beast trying to manifest itself? And if that's the case, I mean, isn't she already manifested? I mean, it's really weird. I mean, trying to piece together what exactly is the goal of these Utes, because I mean, you've got people will get like these patches of skin that's called the mark of the devil. Like, well, first of all, how did they get that mark? I mean, like there's a guy who is a very upstanding guy throughout this film, and all of a sudden he's got it on his leg, and like, how did he get it on his leg? And then why, you know? So they would lure the people that have the mark so that they could kill him, so that I guess the flesh of that mark gets transferred onto the beast. I mean, it makes it. I mean, that could be what's going on, but it never really makes that clear, and there's no real understanding of like the context of why this is happening and why they're doing it. And I really wanted a little more meat on the story, because the story is actually kind of interesting at its core, and I really would love to have them flesh it out a bit. When the judge goes off, he's got this book that he's borrowed from the doctor, and it was explaining things about the occult, and they just kind of point to this picture, and it's like, that could be like the description of what they found, and he never really tells us what he discovers, or there's no scene where he's reading and he's like going, oh. I mean, he comes back with this holy weapon, but it's never explained what the holy weapon is, why. I mean, you see it, but you're like, why is it a holy weapon? How has this got anything to do with anything? It's really bare bones. I mean, it's a low-budget flick. I understand that. But the narrative really just falls apart, and it's disappointing because in the essence of this movie, there is an interesting story that I think can be told, and it just fails to do that, and that's the unfortunate thing about this movie. So it's a 2 out of 5 for plot. Acting, I am giving it a very high 4 out of 5. The guy who plays the judge is just ridiculously awesome. He nailed it. He kicked it out of the ballpark. This is the second straight movie where the people acting in this film do a wonderful job for the most part. Yes, there are some of the Utes acting is a bit, but I mean, when we talk about the main character, the master of the house, the judge, and also some of the local peasants, as well as the guy who discovered the remains. They did just a spectacular job, and honestly, if the acting was piss poor horrible, I don't know if I would have been able to stomach going through the rest of the film. I mean, maybe it would have been hilarious, and then I would have thought, okay, it's so bad it's good. But no, the acting, especially the guy who plays a judge, spectacular, wonderful acting. So, moving on, Nudity, I am giving it a 2.5 out of 5. There is that seduction scene, which is full frontal. I mean, she's got a rockin' body, that's for sure. And then there's a scene toward the end of the final ritual where there's this naked girl dancing with a sword. Honestly, that's about it, but quality over quantity sometimes. And, you know, the naked dancing girl had a nice set. So anyways, 2.5 out of 5. Enjoyment factor, I'm going to give it a 3. I'm giving it a little bit more because I know that this film is low budget. It's an older film. It really does harken to movies like The Wicker Man or even the more contemporary The Witch. And it's very interesting that I can see that if maybe not directly influenced by this film, there was this influence that I could see. It's one of those weird genres. I think they kind of made like folk horror, anyways. And so it's I mean, it's a thing of its time, but I can see what they were going for, and I can appreciate what they've done and how groundbreaking certain parts of this movie were. However, the narrative it's just not as satisfying as it could be, and it leaves much to be desired. And honestly, it feels more of a letdown at the end than a culmination of awesomeness that it could have possibly been. So, I mean, honestly, yeah, if it had a better budget, better writer, I don't know. I mean, this is one of those movies that if the right people could remake it, it could be spectacular. But, you know, who knows? Anyways, 3 out of 5. And my overall impression is a 2.75 out of 5. Giving it a little bit of credit for just kind of like, you know, paving the way for other similar tone movies. It's got a great tone. It does have a good score. The cinematography is pretty decent. And like I said, wonderful acting. There is interest in there, and there is entertainment to be gleaned. It's just overall somewhat of a letdown story-wise, and therefore I can't really give it any higher than a 2.75 out of 5, and that averages out to a 2.5 out of 5. Yeah, it's the blood on Satan's Claw. Actually, the guy who made it, I think, originally wanted it, well, he wanted it to be called something else, but then the second title was Satan's Skin, and he said he really liked that one. And honestly, I think that one actually fits a bit better. I mean, sure, there's that claw that kind of shows up here and there, but like the whole skin thing is really the interesting part. I mean, there's a nice scene where they're trying to cut the devil's skin off of this lady who's a total, totally into the cult. Anyways, so yeah, it's interesting, and I appreciate the movie, but it just feels like it was. I don't know. I don't want to say unfinished, because it's finished. The movie is finished. It just doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel completely fleshed out. It's like you order a drink and you got half a glass. Sure, it's a glass, and you had the start and the finish, and it does what it's supposed to do, quench your thirst. But in the end, you feel like you only got you didn't get all of what you could have had with that. So I don't know. Anyways, I mean, they all can't be super winners. And sometimes I wonder if, like, you know, coming off of something that was surprisingly spectacular, like Night Warning, there's tend to be a letdown because you've already got that sort of thing in the back of your mind. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I need to watch it a couple more times. I mean, like I said, I did enjoy it. I just wanted a lot more from the movie. And maybe I'm being unreasonable. I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen The Blood on Satan's Claw? Well, leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me how wrong I am about this movie, or how stupid I am, or you agree, whatever. Anyways, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, check out my other videos, and I will see you tomorrow night. And until then, internet, stay sexy, stay scary, and, oh man, do not go poking around some devil remains you might uncover while fixing your yard. Get some professionals to clean that shit up, right? Especially the children, man. Think of the children. Won't someone think of the children? Ah!